What does acting, improv, and theater have to do with software engineering? Well, a lot more than I originally expected before this interview. Hi, my name's Nick Cosentino, and I'm a principal software engineering manager at Microsoft. In this interview, I was joined by Rita Iglesias, who explained to me all of her experience going through and organizing a theater for about 8 years before becoming a developer. Now, Rita is very curious and loves to solve problems and ended up stumbling upon coding when purchasing a course and then realized for herself that she really loved it. Now, if those sounds like two completely different worlds, it's because they probably are on paper when you're going from doing acting and theater work into trying to write software. But as you'll see in this interview, there are so many awesome skills that she was able to acquire from being able to run a theater and doing improv work and acting to being able to carry over into software development. I personally learned a ton from this interview, and I think that you're going to get a lot of value from it as well. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. I don't know how early you'd like to start, but if you want to give us some background for at some point in time, you were going through school and figuring out your career path, and then things change. Like, I don't know where you want to start, but giving us some background would be totally awesome.
Yeah, let's try to summarize. So it's not my best skill. Basically, I wanted to be an actress since I remember. Like, I always say that to my parents, like, I want to act and blah, 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 blah. And I'm very extroverted and passionate person. So for me, it makes sense. Like, okay, it's the thing that you need to do.
Sure.
But at the same time, I love maths too. But I think because not specifically math, I love to solve things. Like,
Okay.
like be very productive and just figure it out. That's
Right.
the thing.
It's not
that
the
I love.
numbers in particular that do it for you, but like the problem solving is fairly interesting.
Yeah, it's the problem solving thing. There's something there that is so satisfying to me. Love it. So basically, I always wanted to be an actress, and also I love music. So I studied violins for 10 years, I think. Yeah, from 8 to 18 years. And after that, when I was 18, I studied performing arts at the university. And after a while, basically, I had my own theater company. And it was like similar to Saturday Night Live, but without money. Basically, we did a show, one new show per week. And we did the scripts, we rent the place, we did everything. It was crazy, but those years were amazing. I mean,
that's so awesome.
Best memories ever. We were, I don't know, 8 years doing that. Like one show, 1 hour and a half hour show per week, completely new. It was
8 years.
Yeah, a lot of time. Yes,
that's incredible. Holy wow!
Yeah, and it was basically we lived together in the same apartment. It was like, I don't know, almost a religion.
That's incredible. That's like, it sounds like chaotic but exciting and fun, and I'm assuming you must have really loved the people that you were working with and living with, because or else that wouldn't have been able to work. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, and it was super fun because you had to learn new scripts per week, and the guy that wrote the scripts, basically sometimes he running out of ideas because it's impossible. So he had the scripts on Monday or Tuesday, and we need to act in front of a lot of people on the day before. Right. Or the day after, sorry.
Sometimes people don't like to think that, right? They're like, oh, like, if I can avoid doing hard things and kind of get by. But it's like, if you go through periods where you build up this resiliency, maybe in the moment you're not thankful for it because it's chaotic and it's hard and it's difficult. But when you reflect on it, it's like, man, like that really helps. It truly does help shape like what you're able to do. So
definitely. But also at the same time, it's acting. So at least here in Spain, that there is no much industry as in the States. For instance, you need to have a side job. It's like you need to be a waitress. This is part of the experience or something else. I worked also in escape room. I was a game master. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. So I remember one day after a very tough day in the restaurant that I thought like, okay, I'm 27 and I don't know if I'm going to be able to, you know, keep still doing this when I don't know
Right.
in 10 years because it's super super hard for
Right.
my body basically.
It's a
And
lot of energy, a lot of time.
yeah,
It's demanding, right?
yeah,
And like it was, I'm assuming, enjoyable, but at the same time, like because it's so much, like
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's so much.
yeah,
So yeah, and also overall for a person that is hard, I'm not the best person to say no. So for
sure,
me, it was like a nightmare. And yeah, basically I tried. I also love to in the summers when I was studying, and I love to try courses about things in general
sure.
because I love to learn new things. And I discovered basically by chance programming, and I was like, oh, that's so fun. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was like, I think 3 or 2 years before the boot camp thing,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
there was a time when suddenly there were like, I don't know, boot camps everywhere.
Everything's a boot camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't know how to find. I mean, there were resources there on the
Sure.
internet, but I didn't know how to find that resources. So
Right.
my brother-in-law is a programmer. So I asked him like, okay, give me. I did this course. I love it. So I wanted to try because why
Mhm.
not? And yeah, basically he designed it to me like a path. And yeah, it was a very hard path. They yeah, in fact, he told me like, I thought that you will never do that. I didn't
Were you
believe.
surprised? Were you surprised to hear that from him?
No, basically not, because I know that when you if you are starting from scratch alone
Mhm.
by yourself, is the very beginning is super tough. It's super tough because you need to, do this brain switch, or there is a moment when your brain is like suddenly you get it.
Right.
And this first even years are super 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 hard. So yeah, basically he gave me a computer science specialization that it took me almost 2 years to finish that.
Sure.
And I was like, what is that? Algorithmic thinking, all the
Right.
instead of do some HTML and CSS and JavaScript at the beginning, that is at least you can see something.
Right.
And
And
it's
I think for a lot of people, that's very rewarding to be able to say,
yeah,
like, I'm going to make some changes, and all of a sudden, right in front of your eyes, you're like, there it is.
yeah.
So if you're not experiencing that in the beginning, I can imagine you're like, okay, what the heck is the point of me doing this, right?
Yeah, and I didn't study math. So for me, I was like, oh my God, what? I remember to search on Google, like, what is the symbol in maths that it looks like in something with
Right.
that words? Like, but I'm very insistent, like
Yep.
I always try, I never give up. This is
Right.
my thing. So I just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I was like working at the theater company and also in the restaurant at the same time. So it was hard, but
Sure.
I discovered that I love that. And I wanted to, I was like studying for 3 years more or less. And after that, I found my first job.
Awesome. What did that look like to go like that transition? So you're taking, and by the way, I should stop to say like that's awesome, very incredible, and I hope that you're very proud of yourself for kind of sticking through that learning period, because it doesn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
And I think for most people it doesn't happen overnight, and people seem to have this expectation. I'm not saying boot camps are a bad thing, but a lot of boot camps advertise like, "Hey, just stick with us for a couple of months or something, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you have it."
That's
Doesn't
impossible. That's not,
doesn't work that way.
no.
So I think, yeah, I wanted to say, like, I hope you are proud of yourself. That's very awesome for sticking through that. But what did the transition look like? So you're building up all these skills and experiences. You have a lot going on with work already, and you're kind of I'm assuming in your mind you're kind of preparing yourself to say, okay, like when am I ready to make this transition? So
Yeah.
what did that look like to say I feel confident enough to do this? And the second part to that question, I guess, is like, how did you come across the first job?
Well, I've never felt confident, basically. This is the short summary. So
Sure.
I think that here my brother-in-law played a very important role because
Awesome.
yeah, I told him like he's my sensei, you know. Because for me it was like the when I was very frustrated or I wanted to give up, I talked to him, and he was like, "No, you must go. Oh, come on, you can do it. I believe in you." Because yeah, he was very surprised that I finished that first specialization in computer science, and he was like,
Right.
"Okay, she likes it." So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you're gonna stick with it, okay. I guess you're
yeah,
gonna do it.
yeah. Basically, after that, I learned command line and HTML and some CSS and a lot of small things here and there.
Sure.
And after a while, he found, well, he told me that there is a job super close to your house that was like near, super close. It was like the destiny. And basically, I wrote that company because I didn't want to do that. First of all, I didn't feel ready
Okay.
at all.
But that's like, so you had already answered me saying like I didn't feel confident. So yeah,
No,
okay, you
no,
did not feel ready.
no,
Okay.
no. That's the thing. No, never. But I'm very used to, do things even if I think that I'm not ready. It's like improv. You just need to jump into the pool. Let's see.
Right.
Let's see. We
Like it's almost
improvise.
like what's the worst that could happen, right? I think
Yeah, nothing.
it sounds kind of funny, but I think yeah, like some of your skills from your career up to this point, they had literally trained how you think about things to be able to say, yeah, like I'm just going to go down this path, and you respond to it and you come up with new scenarios and you just keep moving forward. So in this situation, it was like I'm not ready, but truly, what is the worst that could happen, right? And just go for it and see what happens.
Yeah, let's go for it, see what happens, and you will figure it out. I think this is this concept is self-efficacy, I think is the word. There is the belief that you have in your own skills,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
think this is one of the things that stop people the most. And it's like, no, you can do it. You need to believe that you can do it. And it sounds like a naive or something, but it's true because that thing is blocking you completely.
I can say 100% I experience that where I hold myself back from things.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this a lot online where like I have this problem where I acknowledge that if I put myself into an uncomfortable situation, I will probably learn so much and thank myself after, but I'm like, nope, it's uncomfortable. Like I'm going to steer away from that. But if something forces me into it, then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, like this was actually such a good experience. So I totally
Yeah,
relate to that.
definitely. If you force you to be in the uncomfortable zone all the time,
Yeah.
you will grow super fast. Like it's the
Yep.
best way to grow. And at the end, I I I tell you, I love to do that. I love to be in this uncomfortable zone. I don't know why, but I sadly I love that, and it's like kind of adrenaline thing.
That's good though. I feel like I wish, and I say this very truthfully, I wish that I felt like that because I have this fear that like that by not doing that enough that I'm missing out on so much. And I have the truly have this fear of being like when you get so complacent over time, like you don't realize how much that creeps in and you're like, it's been 8 years or something. Like, did I just miss out on like, I don't know, like 6 of those years I could have been switching to something else and
Yeah.
and just learning and growing and experiencing so many more things. So
And this is also related with something that we use a lot of in active or in acting or improv. There is remember how to play the same way that you when you were a child and
mm,
you play and you believe in your character a lot, but it's the same thing. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? Nothing. And you are playing, you are not saving lives. So we are not doing something super important. And we can just, yeah, let's try. It's the same feeling that you have when you are playing. The
I
play
like that.
thing.
That's interesting, right? It's like we get a little bit older and all of a sudden we start going like, no, that's silly. Like that doesn't make sense. It's silly. But we did it as kids, and I'm assuming that, and I'm not into psychology enough to understand this, but I'm assuming it's something to do with like judgment from others, or like
Yeah,
this fear of failing, and
yeah,
like what's this going to look like. And if we had the ability to kind of block that all out and just say like,
yeah.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, it's that. And it's the same feeling that we have with video games. A lot of people talk about that because when you are playing a video game, you know that if you, I don't know, if you don't pass you fail or you fall off in a
Hmm.
in a hole, you can restart the game, and that's it. So you are not afraid of
Right.
making that mistake because you
Yeah, you
can.
have to try it and then see, I made it over, I jumped and it worked, or no, I fell in. Okay, let me do it again and retime my jump and just get better and
Yeah, and
try it again.
try another thing. But this is the same thing. It's the same thing. Nobody cares. You will, you will, you will not remember this in 5 years. So
Yeah, that's such a good reminder. Okay, and sorry, I
yeah,
that was my fault. I derailed a little bit. So you you did not feel ready,
yeah.
but
Let's
you
recap. Let's recap.
ended up applying. So you wrote the company,
Yeah, I
is what
wrote
you
the
said.
company to ask for an internship. Like,
Okay.
hello, I'm Rita. I'm very interested in this thing. I would love to work because I felt that I need to learn how to work in a team because at the
Right.
end we are not working alone, never.
Hmm.
So we need to learn that and how to use Git and bigger projects, not only play.
Yeah.
And basically at the very beginning they answered me like, yeah, you are a very yes. It was a yes, but it was yes, but not now. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, let's wait. I wait. Never nothing happened. And I sent another email and they told me like, well, we cannot have you as an intern because it's not legal. Because
Oh, interesting.
yeah, you are not in I studied everything like in free resources on the internet.
Mhm.
I don't have anything. I was not in a school or something. So
Right.
yeah, and yeah, I was very sad. And my sensei told me, okay, they have an open position for a front end developer, and I was
Mhm.
like, no. they they just reject me as an intern. How am I gonna be, like just asking, okay, let's do.
Yeah. No intern. Okay, give me the full time then. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, and I was like, this is so embarrassing, no. And he was like, yes, you're gonna do it, try it.
What's the worst that's gonna
Yeah,
happen?
yeah. And I was like, no. And she goes, yes, do it. And I did it, basically.
And
Yeah, I wrote them a message and you know, because it was super weird. So I told them like, I saw that you have an open position. So can I do the test just to practice and see how it goes, like just to learn something? And they told me yes. So I
okay.
did the thing and it was pretty decent. Not the
Okay.
best, but it was
Sure.
pretty decent. And I wrote a very good and very well explained readme. And that made the trick.
Ah, okay.
The very good readme with all the things. Like I specify, okay, I follow these best practices for HTML, for instance, and for CSS, I follow this guide.
Mhm.
Of course, I have my sensei, and he was sending me all the good resources. Like if you want to write good HTML, follow this guide or follow. And I read all the guides. I was like super
Mhm.
focused. And yeah, basically they told me, okay, let's do an internship. And yeah, they like hired me, but with a weird thing. It was, well,
So they found a way, because I'm
yeah, they
assuming
found
they
a way.
weren't lying to you when they said there was probably some truly like some whether legal or complicated issues with labeling an internship. I'm not familiar with labor laws in all sorts of different countries, but
Yeah,
I can absolutely see
yeah.
that being an honest response. Like we literally can't label it as such, but so they were able to find some way to
Yeah,
navigate that.
some way, creative way
Sure.
to hire me, but not as a full time engineer. And
Right.
yeah, and I was 3 months there. I think the toughest 3 months in my life, because I was super, trying to understand everything and learn as much as I can.
Hmm.
And yeah, after 3 months, they hired me as a full
Wow.
time front end. And yeah, I started to do front end because before that, in my courses, I only did Python and basically backend. And
Yeah, you started almost the opposite way that a lot of people today, and I say a lot of people just because, especially online, I'm seeing a lot of people like front end boot camps, but you
yeah,
started literally backwards from that, which is cool.
yeah, and I was there for almost 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was super nice because this company is product digital studio. So basically, they create MVPs for companies in Canada and the US, and it's crazy. Like I was in 2 or 3 projects at the same time. I mean, the rhythm, it was high, but it was nice because I could build from scratch a lot of different apps. So
Right.
it's nice if you want to learn, have
Hmm.
the possibility to do that is awesome, because you can build a chat and you can build a store and you can build so many different things. And after, yeah, I was there for 3 years. I end up like leading my small team, but it was not, it wasn't a leadership position.
Sure.
It was more like we need somebody to, organize a little bit this mess.
Right.
and
Yeah.
and because we had to make a lot of product decisions. Like we were building MVPs basically. So
Mhm.
and very fast. So we need to cut things and, talk with people and see, okay, this is not worth it. Let's do, yeah, figure it out basically. And that's my thing. So
I
yeah.
was just thinking when you were explaining before your work history, sort of with the theater company, right? This this sort of like I don't mean to call it chaotic as a bad thing. I just mean there's a lot going on. So when I say chaotic, I don't mean it to be
Yeah.
condescending or anything. But yeah, you have something chaotic that you've been living through for 8 years and navigating, and it's working. And then you're put into software, and when you're so I'd spent a lot of my career before Microsoft doing prototyping at companies, and very very similar, where you're like, hey, we got to try it, we got to move in this direction, figure out, do we cut it, do we keep building, do we, this, the technology is proving itself but we wrote it in a bad way, let's actually go rewrite it properly. It truly is like this like kind of chaotic experience that you need to organize. So I thought it was, as you were explaining that, I was like, I could absolutely see that with your previous experience not in software it would translate very well.
Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah. And also, with the pressure and all of this, I was just like, chill,
But
guys,
you
we can do it.
yeah, but you kind of you mentioned it wasn't like a formal leadership position, but you basically stepped up like sort of informally to be able to help do a lot of the driving and organizing and reducing the chaos for other people.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, the rhythm was hard to
Right.
follow, and yeah, not everybody was so comfortable with that rhythm,
Sure.
and it's normal. I mean, if you are used to a normal, regular rhythm,
More structure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. And after that, I started in a topic. There is the company that I'm working now. And basically, it was a completely switch because it's a product company.
Okay.
And it's a startup. So we are still in startup vibes, but it's a product company. So I think for me, the rhythm is more calm.
Okay.
And
yeah.
at the very beginning, I was like, I feel that I'm not working. What's going on?
Even though it is a startup, that's an incredible difference in pacing, right? Because most startups, I think most people would say it always feels chaotic until suddenly you don't feel like you're a startup anymore. But yeah, that's a pretty.
Yeah.
It must have been pretty dramatic in terms of the pacing at the previous company. If you felt like going to a startup was even slower.
Yeah, but it's nice. And yeah, we are also prototyping things and trying to, get into the market fit thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, basically I started, well, in the other company, I was working only in the front end because they had like front end and back end super separate. And
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, and I think, 1 year before I left that company, I was like, okay, because we also worked with the same stack always, so
Okay.
we could build faster because we
Right.
had like a standardized way to do things. And I started to feel comfortable with that way of working, so I started to, I was bored. Like, I need something else, please. So
Sure.
I started like to learn a Rails course, the
Okay.
famous Rails tutorial, because I wanted to, understand better what's going on in the backend side of things.
Mhm.
Because I felt that I need that in order to be even better in the front end. You need to know something about the backend because you can understand, okay, if I need that, but can I ask for that? It makes sense. These kind of things.
Right.
And basically, in my current company, I left my previous company because of that. Because here I can do everything, and that's
Right.
something that I love. We don't have here this distinction between front end and back end. We are just product engineers,
Right.
and we do infrastructure, back end, front end, whatever. And yeah, I started here, and I think in 2 months I was already like doing things in the backend with Go. Because I was
Very
like,
cool.
if you let me do things, can I do things? And yeah,
Yeah, then you'll do them.
yeah, and I love it because this first, well, at the beginning was very, very difficult for me because
Sure.
it's Go. And for instance, for me, the pointers, I was like, what's that? I don't get
Yeah.
it.
After spending more time in the front end, the concept of a pointer is probably like, wait a second, what's that again?
Yeah, and I did Python in the past, but not any language that was so close, like so low level. And but yeah, a lot of things to learn, but I have like my ways to approach that. And instead of see the entire code base that is already there and you need to do something and you're like, okay, I don't understand anything, I
Right.
enter in this play mode that is like, okay, we have things here,
Sure.
I need to do something, so let's find something that looks similar
Hmm.
and try to understand. And let's copy paste and try to, I love to first trying to figure it out by myself,
Hmm.
looking for something similar. And after a while, when my code is full of errors and it's not compiling and it's a mess, I ask somebody that knows, like, okay, let me first explain my reasoning behind my solution. So
Right.
I start with explaining, like, okay, I think this line of code, not sure, but I think this is doing something, blah, 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 blah. Explain everything. And
Right.
after that, the person explains to me the solution. Like, okay, you
Right.
cannot do that because of blah, blah, blah. Or, yes, you were almost right. Instead of asking for the solution first, or the way, or just, try to figure it out yourself, even if you are
Right.
making up things or the code is not even compiling. I think that that's a better way to learn, because the thing that the expertise is gonna explain to you is gonna stick in your brain forever, because you did the job, that reason, the reasoning that you,
Right.
this is the moment where when your brain is storing things. If you just, like, it's the same thing as, you are not learning when you are reading something, you are learning when you are thinking about the thing that you are reading and
Yeah,
connecting that with
you're
your.
applying it, right? You're making the behavioral changes and applying what you've read. That becomes the learning. Otherwise, and people experience this all the time. They'll call it like tutorial hell, or people will say like, "Hey, tell me what book to read to learn programming," and it's like, it's not that the tutorials and books won't work, but they are not nearly as effective if you don't go start applying the things that are going into your head. Because what'll happen is your brain goes, "That's neat, thank you," and then you'll move on to another
Yeah,
topic, and at some point your brain's like, "We're not using this information," so like,
yeah, yeah. Basically, I think that that there are two things that are super useful to learn new when you need to approach something super new. Like, for instance,
sure,
like a new code base of backend if you never did the backend. And one are like, try things,
hmm
even if you don't know how to do it. Do it, and let's see. And the other thing is, try to explain the thing, even if you think that you are not ready, because our brain, it is better at recovering information than storing information. Like, when, for instance, when you are studying for an
sure,
exam, and you try and you read your papers, I don't know, 20 times, this doesn't make sense. It's
right,
better to read once and then explain that thing.
yeah,
Try to explain, try to recover, even if you are not ready and you don't remember everything. The
yep,
second time that you read that thing, it's already there. It's kind of magic. I discovered that when I was in the theater company, and when I was studying my scripts.
right,
Basically, I always told my boyfriend, give me the what is, how can I say this in English? Like, if I'm a character and you are the other one, and you give me the answer so we can have a conversation.
oh yeah, like
Give me
it's
the
like the
line.
dialogue, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, the lines,
the
yeah, yeah,
lines. So give me the lines. And my boyfriend was like, you read that script once. You don't know the lines. And I was like,
right,
sure, give me the lines. And and yeah, and I was like trying to remember. Like, I read once and I was like, no, how was that line? And give me
right,
the first letter, trying to guess all the time. And that effort made me learn the lines faster, because also that effort is important, because the next time your brain knows that that thing is important. She 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 was
there was
doing
effort put into that.
so much effort. We need to remember that, and it's so true. And I remember, okay, this makes more sense than try to read the script for 20 times.
But it sounds very similar, right, to reading a book or watching a tutorial, and then basically immediately, in your case with lines, right, immediately going into, let me practice it. And
Yeah,
it's like, you might be acknowledging to yourself, I'm gonna fail at this. I'm not gonna make it all the way through, but I'm going to try and see how far I get. And then basically it's this action of like taking information in because you're reading the lines, and then how do I practice it right away? And I mean, I acknowledge it's not the exact same thing. Like, it's not typing it out or writing it out, but you're truly trying to put it into practice immediately. And I think that that's a great comparison, because even though it's not identical, I think it's a good analogy for it.
yeah,
You said something else that I thought I really wanted to kind of go back and touch on because I think it's incredibly important. And you kind of were talking through your problem solving process. And I think that a lot of people miss out on this, especially if they are junior or even if they're not junior, but they're new to a code base or an area. It's something that I, as an engineering manager in particular, have had a lot of difficulty trying to explain to newer individuals, which is the goal is not to get stuck and then ask for help and someone to give you a solution. And I have to coach even the engineers giving the solutions. I'm like, hey, look, like if you don't want this person to keep coming back to you and always just getting the answer from you, you need to back up from this for a second. So you don't just give them the answer. And the people that are asking for help shouldn't just be expecting the answer. So I love that you said, I'm going to go in and just try it. And yeah, you might get to a point where none of your code's compiling, but literally you went through all of this work to just try. You get somewhere, and then once you're totally stuck and you're like, okay, I've tried a bunch of stuff out, being able to explain to someone else, here's everything I've tried. For folks that are going to be watching this and listening, like if you imagine that you are, say you're a more senior engineer and someone comes to you and asks for help, how much more, like how much better is it going to feel if someone says, hey, like I need help on this, here's all the work I've tried, here's my thought process, my explanation, can you give me some help? Versus someone saying, hey, I haven't tried anything, can you just like tell me what to do?
Yeah.
You're going to want to probably spend more time with the person investing their effort into it. And so not only that, but your other point about like that is the learning process. And often I will tell people, I don't think there's any shortcuts like to being an expert in software engineering or in anything really. You need to be practicing. But I guess if I could say there's one shortcut, it's acknowledging that you literally need to be trying things and failing at them. Like, I think the sooner that you acknowledge that and you're like, okay, I just have to be doing this, the sooner that you're spending time doing that versus, okay, where's the next shortcut? Because there just aren't shortcuts. You can't just press the button or read the one magic article and suddenly you're an expert. You just have to spend the time doing it. So I love that. I guess like very early on for you, you found this and you're like, this is what works. And I wish more people kind of like fell into that because that's great.
Yeah, and most of the cases when you are explaining your reasoning, sometimes you just sit like, okay, is that because you are, the process of explaining something, you are recovering that information for your brain. So your brain is working on that moment. And when for instance, if you find a solution, but you feel that it's not the best solution and you know it, like this is not performant. So
Sure.
we need to find, there should be another thing. It's easier to remember the why is not a good solution if you try the bad solution first. If you only try the like it's the same thing when we studied the maths and they told you this is the formula. That's it.
Mhm.
That's it. Memorize the formula. That's it. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, I hated that. I hated that because I didn't understand why. So I was like, no. I remember having
It only
fights
took,
with my teacher because I
yeah,
found a solution, but I didn't use the formula. And I was like, but I found the solution. So
right.
it's even better.
It only takes like when you're for that math example, if you're memorizing formulas, it only takes one exam to have a question where they change some of the wording around a little bit. And then you're going, well, I only know the formula and I don't actually understand it. And now you're like, I can't even
Yeah.
answer this question because of that lack of understanding. And I'm not trying to say that like, if people don't understand it, they suck. I just mean like that way of teaching,
Yeah.
say, don't worry, just use the formula. That's kind of like a memorization technique and it's not an understanding technique. And I think there's a
Yeah.
very big difference, and
It's
especially when you go to apply into software
Yeah,
engineering.
it's a very big difference because you basically have something, a node in your brain that is not connected to anything.
Yeah.
So that thing is going to disappear.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
going to disappear. Nothing is connected to that. And yeah, we just need to make connections. This is another thing that I love when you need to approach like something super big and you feel very overwhelmed. It's
Right.
like, I remember the first walkthrough of the code base that somebody gave to me, I was all the time stopping the person and rephrasing everything like in simple words. Like, okay,
Right.
is this similar? Trying to connect that with something that I knew. Like, is
Right.
this similar? For instance, this mapping here, is this similar to whatever I do in the front end in this part? And he was like, kind of. Enough. Enough. First connection, MVP,
Yeah.
MVP knowledge. Like
Yeah,
this
that's
is
a
my
great way to
first
put it, yeah.
connection. Even if I don't understand 100%, because I have a lot of colleagues that I think we always have this conversation because they have this need to, okay, if I don't understand 100% everything of what I'm doing, I don't feel good. And it's like,
Right.
if you are starting in something that is huge and completely new for you, you need to assume that you are not going to understand everything.
It would be impossible,
It's
right?
impossible.
You couldn't even take your first step, because if that first step required that you knew everything, like, too bad. Like it's just not going to work. So yeah, I totally agree. I can rationalize or relate to people that are like, I want to understand more. But I think as you're explaining this, you're not suggesting like I don't need to know anymore, but it's like I know enough to take my next step. And by taking more steps like that over time, you will in fact start learning most of what you need to know.
Yeah, eventually you are going to understand everything. But you need to, if you are blocking yourself because you don't understand a small line, you
Right.
cannot do the next step. So it doesn't make sense, And I think this is super important. Like, just jump into the pool. You don't understand everything, no problem. You
Right.
you go for it, and again, nobody's gonna die. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great way to put it. And I have I guess a question for these two places that you had worked at. I'm curious about the environment, because I 100% resonate with all of the things that you're saying, and I've been fortunate, at least in my career, where I've worked at places that very much like embodied this idea of like, we have trust in you, like if you mess up or whatever, it's okay, like we'll learn from it. And that's something that I've tried to take with me throughout my entire career, especially managing teams, is being like, look, like I want you to be able to take risks, to fail, like I don't want you to basically purposefully mess things up, but like it's okay. Like we're going to learn together. Now, in the first place you worked and the place you're at now, do you feel that like the environment was, and maybe I don't know if it's something you observed consciously, but do you feel like they set up the environment very much for you to be able to have those failure opportunities? Like,
well, I think that the two companies are very different because, for instance, in the first one, it took me a while to understand, because in the first company they were a lot of people that were less experienced, like
sure.
younger, and I felt that, I don't know, everybody was talking super confident and yes, and I was there like, I don't
Oh, okay.
understand
Yeah. Yeah.
anything. So, but then I realized that, how is this possible? This is something that I as an actress, I'm very used to. We learn to show ourselves vulnerable. It's like acting is basically being a stage and show your emotions, being vulnerable in front of people, and this is very, very hard for adults.
Right.
So in this first company, I was like, how is this even possible? That in a field that every day something is, new framework, new language all the time. So many new things that it's not possible to know everything. How is
Right.
these people so confident? It doesn't make sense. So I realized
Something's not adding up.
yeah. So I think, okay, people is faking.
Yeah.
People is basically acting as they know everything. And yeah, I started this is something that I very passionate about. Let's show ourselves vulnerable. because
Right.
it doesn't make sense. And in this company when I joined Topi, there were so many people with more than 10 years of experience, and the CTO that is not here anymore, but the CTO Ernesto is like, oh my god, love him. I remember Ernesto in public channels saying, I don't know anything about this specific thing. Who knows that? And that's so
Right.
important. Like, ask in public, because everybody, and also, if you are a leader, I think this is so important for leadership. If you are a leader, you need to be able to show vulnerability, because
That's what we want for other people, right? We want
yeah,
other people to be able to do it. And it might sound obvious when I say it out loud, but you need to lead by example.
yeah,
If you have leadership that does not show vulnerability, that they don't know things, that it's okay to make mistakes, if they don't show it, how can you possibly ever expect that the people you're leading will ever do that?
yeah. And I'm not going to empathize with a leader that is not vulnerable, because this is not me. I cannot, like, I cannot relate to that. So
Right.
yeah, and in this company, it's true that there are a lot of people that are very experienced, like
Mhm.
17 years of experience. It's like, oh my god, an entire life for me. But yeah, they just ask in public, and they are able to say, I don't know that, I don't know anything about that. Or for instance, I less experience. I only been working in tech for, well, almost 6 years, five years, I don't remember. But sometimes I have more experience with specific things, and
Right.
they ask me, and we are like, they treat me as an equal. And I think this is the way. This is the way,
Right.
because the tech field is so massive and it's basically impossible to know everything. So
Right.
it's, I think it's very important that the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you kind of walked through that. That's really helpful, and I can really appreciate that vulnerability part from leadership. And I think that the more leaders can do that, and I would even say if you don't have leaders at the place you're working at that are truly embodying that, I think if you as a developer are trying to become more senior in your role, I think it's important to be able to show that, because other people will look up to you and they will emulate that behavior. So I think that's critical. I want to be conscious of time. I want to ask you one more question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And this company where you have this ability to be able to do front end and back end, which I think is an awesome opportunity to be able to flow between those. How do you navigate not just like latching onto one thing and being like, okay, I'm getting more comfortable with front end, I'm just going to stick to here, or with the back end, like, okay, like I've been working with some of the database stuff more and more, like I'm just going to stay here because it's comfortable. You might be the wrong person to ask, because it seems like you like all the challenges, but do you see that happening with
Yeah.
other people and how they navigate that?
Yeah.
Or any thoughts on that?
Yeah. In fact, I'm the wrong person to ask that, because I love the other, that when I feel very comfortable, it's sort of, I'm bored. I need to.
But yeah, but you acknowledge it, right? Like you notice it's happening,
Yeah,
and
but-
you're going, "Oh, I've been doing this a lot. Like
but-
I should try to do that."
But I know that I'm not the most. It's not very common. Like,
Sure.
the common thing is the opposite, and I also learn that not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay too. I mean, there are some people that they just wanted to be in this comfortable place, and okay, maybe they can push themselves a little bit and try new things, but if you push them a lot,
Mhm.
that's dangerous.
Right. Yeah.
That's
It
dangerous.
becomes uncomfortable. They're going to feel like suddenly it's like work is not enjoyable. They're going to lose engagement. Like there is a balance there. So, okay, no, I was curious. Like you see that other people kind of have to try and navigate this, and
Yeah.
for yourself,
Yeah,
maybe
and
not
also
the right
I
person. to
force
ask.
I force some people to do that. Like, I remember to have these conversations with some of my colleagues, like, okay, but let's do that. Believe me, super fun. And
Yeah.
they were just not enjoying that. And I was like, why? Because not everybody's the same person. Come on.
That's a good observation. Yes, but I actually, it sounds. I know you're laughing at yourself saying it, but I actually do not think that a lot of people realize that. As funny
Yeah.
as it is to say, like, hey, if I enjoy this and this is a good thing, and it's so enjoyable for me, or this is so ingrained in the way that I think, like, clearly other people must think this way, right? When we say that out loud, it sounds kind of funny, but I think we
Yeah.
get in this habit of doing that. So
Yeah, because
it's a
we
good
just
call.
don't listen.
Yeah, we should do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, this is also a good thing about acting, that you learn how to listen people and to empathize, like a
Right.
little bit more. So
Well, the improv, you must, right? Like, you
yeah,
need to be playing off of what other people are saying. And it's not just a matter of, I heard the words you said. Like, I'm assuming I'm terrible at improv, so sorry, but I'm assuming that you need to, like, be understanding the direction that someone's trying to go with something, or else you might improv back and they're like, oh man, like, you're undoing, like, the direction I'm trying to,
yeah,
to
you
push things
learn how
into.
to read the room. Read the room is so important in whatever thing that you do in your life. So yeah, I think that's a good skill.
Yeah, these, I think, okay, so I do want to wrap up because I'm conscious of your time, but I think I'm blown away by how many things in particular we were able to take from acting, improv, and this part of your career journey, and literally see so many, like, very tangible connections into software engineering, because it's not just writing code, it's lots of other interactions, how you learn. So I wanted to say thank you so much for being able to, like,
Aw.
kind of shine a light on those things. Rita, I'll get links from you after, but people are going to want to reach out to you and find you and see your content. Where can people find you?
Well, people can find me on, I think, everywhere, like
Everywhere. Perfect.
Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Rita underscore codes. And what else? Yeah, and basically that's it.
Cool.
Rita.codes is my website, my personal website, small one. And yeah, if you are in the 3D, if you're a 3D artist, we have also a company and we make Blender plugins. And you can,
Awesome.
yeah, it's Diffuse Studio. So go check it out.
Awesome.
And yeah, basically that's it. Rita
Perfect.
underscore quotes. I'm
I
very
will-
bad at selling myself.
No worries. I will absolutely make sure to put links in descriptions and comments and stuff for people to check that out. So, Rita, thank you so much. This is great. I absolutely learned a ton myself. So, yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.